Good evening. How are you? Once again, thank you for joining us tonight for our webinar, The New Normal. Tonight and all this month, we're talking about social media marketing. Social media marketing is so important to your business. It's free and it's a great way to make more connections with your customers. So, tonight, we're talking about social media 101. So, we're just covering how to be social, what things you should do, what you should post, really how you should approach social media. So, then in our next webinar on Thursday, we're getting into Facebook. After that, we're talking about Snapchat, we're talking about LinkedIn, Instagram, all those networks. So please be sure to tune in every Tuesday and Thursday this month because we're talking about social media marketing, and that's one of the hottest topics right now. So you definitely want to tune in for that. Once again, this webinar is presented by the U.S. Chambers, Black Chambers, and also the good folks at Grow with Google. So thank you for those companies sponsoring and presenting this webinar. So, as always, before I share my screen with you, I'd like to get some feedback to make sure that you're all still there. So, as normal, I have a question for you. So, if you're ready to get started, if you're ready to learn how to use social media to grow your business, grow your following, I want you to type hashtag grow with Google. So if you're ready to learn more about social media, type in hashtag grow with Google. And whoever first doing that, I'll be sure to show your comment on the screen. So if you're ready, grow with Google and we'll get started. Let's see who's gonna be first. Still waiting on somebody to type in grow with Google. Anybody? Is there one? There we go. There we go. We have one. Grow with Google. Great. Thank you. Another one. Grow with Google. All right. Awesome. So let's get into tonight's webinar. All right. So tonight we're talking about a few things. Social media is really a large topic. We could sit here all night and talk about it, but we're going to focus on a few key points. So the first one we're going to talk about is what is social media? And I'm sure you know what is social media. I'm sure you use it for your personal life and for your business, but we're really going to break down what is the point of social media and kind of how it works because one thing I'm always big on is really getting your understanding down. And I believe once you understand how to be social, it becomes easy. You know what to share, you know what to post, you know what to comment. So we'll talk about really defining what is social media and how to best use it. The next thing, we're talking about posts, we're talking about hashtags, we're talking about live stories, ads, and more. So we're kind of cover all the different pieces of social media. And like I said earlier, tonight we're not focusing on any particular platform. We're talking about social media in general. So how to use stories, how to use live, how to use posts and images and videos on every platform. And once again, in our next webinar, we'll get more into using Facebook, LinkedIn, all those different sites. So, quick question for you. Before I tell you, if you can type in the chat box, what is social media to you? So, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when somebody says social media or social media marketing? Just type in the chat box. What does social media mean to you? And I asked this question a lot, and you'd be surprised. Social media means different things to different people. So definitely want to find out what does social media mean to you because I think that's very important. That really, I think, kind of frames the understanding and also the way that you're going to use social media. Okay, I got a comment here. Let's see. It says digital community for sharing. Yeah, I agree. That's the key word is sharing. It's all about sharing your story, sharing your purpose. So thank you for that comment. We have one here from NYC Realtors. And he says, showboating a business necessity. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes social media can feel like showboating. And, for years, I don't like to brag about myself or post things a lot. So for years, I didn't take social media the way I should have. But once I got over that, feeling like I'm bragging, it was great. So, if you think it's showboating, it may be in some extent, but you have to share your message. You have to tell your story. And, I think one of the things too is you're not showboating. You're telling your story. You're telling what's going on in your life or your business. And sometimes it may come off as showboating, but one thing I'll say, and we'll say this later in the webinar, is when you're on social media, try to be personal, try to be relatable. If you're personal and relatable, then you don't come off as showboating. But that's definitely something you see a lot on social media, especially on Instagram. You see a lot of showboating. We have one more comment here. It says social media is interacting online for individual and business. Yeah, I agree, exactly. And it's funny. Social media has always been here. So we think that social media is this new thing that is changing the world, that is making people less kind and all these things. But I think, excuse me, I think we've always been that way. But social media is kind of that new place. So I give an example of Facebook. Some people say Facebook, what is that? But think about, before the internet, you would go to somebody's house, you would sit down, you would have a drink, have coffee, you would look at pictures and tell stories. That's all it is. So I always say that, if you're fearful of social media, if you have questions about using it, don't be fearful of it because you're already doing it. So one thing that we'll talk about tonight and all the upcoming webinars is taking what you're already doing online and just offline, I'm sorry, and translating that to online. So you don't have to be in social media, you don't have to brag, you don't have to change, but simply just sharing your story, and simple as that. So is it always exciting, entertaining? No, sometimes it can be, but simply just sharing your story, I think is so key. So let's move on. Let me give you the official definition of social media marketing. So make this bigger for you. It says social media is sharing your story to grow your business, increase website traffic, and also sales. And really, that's it. And the first thing I said was sharing your story. So we'll talk about this later, but you don't want to always sell and always brag on social media. It's about just telling your story, and that story hopefully resonates with your audience and pulls them in. So first thing is sharing. But let's be honest, we're all in business, we're all on social media, to make money. So personally, besides my posting my newborn son, I don't post much on my personal accounts, but on my LinkedIn business account, on my Instagram business, Facebook, I'm posting every day. Why? Because I want those customers. I want those sales. And so I think it's about that. It is about visibility. So it's that fine line. You want to share, um, but you don't want to be too salesy. But at the end of the day, it is about increasing sales. And it is about taking people from social media and coming back to your website or making a purpose. But you don't want to be too pushy with that aspect. But definitely at the end of the day, you're on social media to build your brand. You're on social media to make more sales and to bring more people back to your website. Comment here. Share your story. Build relationships. Exactly. That is so key. And I have a story later on I'll share about sharing and about building our relationships. For a great comment. One more comment says, "Do you post multiple times per day?" Um, I used to, but I don't anymore because social media, once again, as a business owner, it's one more thing to worry about. It's easier if you have an intern or an assistant that can help you with that, but being a one-man show is hard sometimes. So really, I focus on making more quality posts. So I post every day on LinkedIn at the same time at 10 a.m. Every day, I post something on LinkedIn. I post here and there. I would say every 2 to 3 days on Instagram and Facebook, here and there as well. But that's a great question. But I think it depends. For me, if I'm honest, A good number of my leads, a good number of my jobs, this engagement right here came from LinkedIn. So I say whatever network is giving you the most traction, the most leads, the most inquiries, that's the network you want to lean into and you want to post more. So sometimes on LinkedIn, I do post twice a day. I post pictures, I post videos, I do stories, I do live. So once again, if you find that a network really works good for you, yes, post multiple times per day. If that's Instagram, if that's Twitter, definitely do that because once again, you don't want to you don't want to spam people. You don't want to post every hour. Posting it twice a day, I would say in the morning or in the evening is a good time to post. So in the morning around 10, people are just getting in settled to work and they're pulling their phone out. Around about 6, people are getting home from work and checking their phone that way. So those are good times to post as well, morning and also evening. And I would say also try to be consistent when you're posting. So every day at 10 a.m., you're going to see a post from me. So if you're posting once a day, twice a day, find a schedule, and that way people can expect to see your post at a certain time. But that was a great question. And once again, through this whole presentation, I'm talking about social media one on one. But if you have any questions about social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, feel free to ask those, and I'll definitely stop and answer your questions. So, really quickly, I want to share a story with you all, and this is my story. And I always say that social media is like dating. So, I'm going to show a picture here, and it's a picture of me in the sixth grade, and hopefully you don't laugh at it. I know we're all friends here, but this was me in the sixth grade. Okay. And I show this to you because in sixth grade, I'm still skinny, but I was skinnier then, not 100 pounds. I had oily skin. I didn't have the best clothes. I had a gap in my teeth. But let me bring the screen back here. So that was me in sixth grade. So what happened in sixth grade is a new girl came to the school, and her name was Rose. And how it is when a new guy or girl comes to school, everybody's trying to talk to them and be their friends, and that's what happened. But to me, I said, "Hey, how's this skinny kid that has no clothes and has a gap in his teeth gonna get to talk to this new girl?" So what I did is what you should do on social media, and it's like what somebody said earlier. I built a relationship, and what that means is I kind of today they would call it stalking, but I found out her birth date. I found out what she liked. I found out where she was from, all that stuff. I found out about her, and I was persistent. I kept talking to her at lunch. I'm sitting at her table, in gym on the track. We're running, and I just happened to be, next to her, just being there. But you know, I didn't just come on too strong at first because that's scary. If you ever go on a first date, you don't talk about marriage at first date. Hopefully, you get to know that person, and over time, you build that bond, that trust, and then there's engagement. Then there's a marriage, and so on. And that's kind of what I did. I took my time, so I kept on just showing up. I kept on just being nice. I kept on just learning details about her. And what happened is I got a kiss. It was the last day of our sixth grade trip, and we went to Kings Dominion, which is an amusement park, and I got a kiss, and I was the man for that weekend. Sadly, that next day, school day on Monday, she dumped me, but for that weekend, I was the man. And once again, I tell that story because that's social media. Social media, you can't be boom, hey, buy this, hey, buy my book, hey, go to my website. No, it's having a conversation that ultimately builds to somebody making a sell, coming to your website, calling you for a service. So what you want to do too is, like I said in that story, is you want to get a good understanding of who your customer is. I think one of the big problems now, social media, is people are just posting whatever they like, whatever comes up to them. But no, you want to find out what your customer likes, and you want to post content. You want to post pictures and videos around those interests, and that way that bond is made. So eventually, you educate them enough, and guess what? One day you get that phone call. One day you get that email. That happens to me all the time. I post on LinkedIn, and you'll be surprised. Sometimes I post something and people don't respond. I don't get any comments, but somebody saw it. And sometimes months, sometimes years later, somebody calls me, "Hey, Sterling, we need a speaker. I've been following your posts for years. I saw what you're doing. Let's do business." So you'll be surprised. So I say one more thing before I move on. If you're online now and you're not seeing the results that you want, don't give up. Social media does work. I would say make sure you have a firm understanding of who your customer is and make sure that you're posting information that's targeting them. That's the key thing. But social media does work. But once again, like my story, it's all about getting a better understanding of your customer and giving them what they want. And then eventually you get that kiss, or in your case, you get that sell. So a few comments here. Somebody says, "Oh, OMG, yes, I've come a long way." um, let's see. Somebody else says, "Kingston, Maine, UMS DMV." Yeah, I grew up in Virginia, so Kingston, Maine was a spot back in the summertime. Yes, thank you. I agree. So, yeah, knowing your ideal customer is very important. I agree. And that goes for social media and really anything. You can be selling the best product and service in the world, but if it's something your customer doesn't want, they're not going to buy. So you definitely be sure to get an understanding of your customer. One more comment here, and we're gonna move on. They have a question that says, "What tips do you have for converting your audience from various social media platforms to your business website?" Thank you. That is a great question. So, I'll say that is really the key. You want to take those connections from social media, and you definitely want to turn those into customers. So, one way you can do that is, let's say you're posting on Facebook or anything, is by offering something free. You can say to get a free PDF, something giveaway free, send an email here. And then they say email to you, and that way you get their email address, and then they might come to your website. Or it can be see more information, see the complete video on my website. That's one way. Another way, if you're on Instagram, you can share links on your website. So there's a service out called I believe Linktree. You can have links, so somebody can click on your profile and they can go to your website, to YouTube, whatever. Also on LinkedIn, also on Instagram, and also on Facebook. You want to be sure to fill out your profile. You want to have your links in there. In your profile description, have the links. Because people naturally, if they want to do business with you, they go to click on that link and go to your website. So I would just say be sure to make sure you fill out your profile completely. Make sure you have your website all in those profiles, and give the person a reason to go to your website. And by that, I mean, that's a sell, whether it's downloading a flyer or a PDF, give them a reason to go to your website. But one thing on that too, I would say, of social media is you want to also try to get emails as well. Because once again, if you have somebody's email address, you can email them over time and have them come back to your website. But yeah, just be sure that you're giving reasons to come back to your website. One more tip is, let's say you write a blog post. You can put the blog post on your social media account. You can say to read more, click here, and it can go back to the website. But I'll say once again, fill out your whole profile. People naturally, if they want to do business with you, they go to seek you out. You won't have to ask them always to go to my website. Just give out good information. You can say, "Hey, to click more, visit my website," and it'll go there naturally. So great question. Got a few more questions. We have one here from Tanya. It says, "Genuinely connecting with folks on live events has worked greatly recently. Go to where your ideal customer is." Yeah, I agree. We'll talk about lives more, but that personal connection, is very key. And lives are great. We'll talk more about that as well, because lives are very personal and a great way to connect with your customers. One more comment, and we move on because we only have an hour. From Mr. James, he says, "I say you want to make them be a customer, but it doesn't have to come through your website. The platforms have many ways to convert and lead potential directions. Yeah, I agree. Exactly. I mean, in some ways, social media is kind of like a mini website. So uh, through Facebook, they can send you a direct message through any platform. A lot of my business is done through DMs, direct messaging. Somebody's going across the, hey, I like your profile, I'm looking for a speaker, send me a message. So we'll get into that later too, but your DMs. So be sure whatever platform you're on to check your direct messages, because that's a way that they can find you. And other platforms too, like Instagram and Facebook, you can actually sell on your website. So yeah, I do agree. There are a lot of ways actually in the platform that you can have the customer interact with your business. So that's a great comment. All right, so we're gonna move on one more time. I'm gonna show you my picture, get one more laugh in, and we'll move on. All right, here we go. Oh, all right, came a long way. All right, let's move on to our next slide. So we just talked about this, and I'll go into it more. I think one of the keys to being successful online and social media is really determining who your customer is. And the first one here, it says you want to find, what does a typical customer need? What do your customers need? Are they coming to you for food, for legal advice, for whatever? Determine that need. And once again, that's the need that you want to create content around. So let's take myself, for instance. I do digital marketing training. So all my videos, all my content is around digital marketing training. So you go to my page, you go to see something that interests you. Oh, I'm looking for digital marketing training. Let me follow this guy. So once again, you want to find out what they need, and you want to create content around that. The next thing is you want to define, what are the traits, what are the characteristics of your customer. That could be age, that could be income, that could be where they live. Because once again, if you have those traits in mind, then you can kind of tailor your content. If you have more women customers, okay, maybe you want to kind of tailor your content that fit women customers. More men, if you have more younger people, change your content to fit them as well. So once again, knowing the traits of your customer are very important, because the way you would talk to a 20-year-old is different than the way you would talk to a 50-year-old. So getting a firm understanding of who you're talking to is very important. And the last one I'll say you want to find out is what motivates your customer. And that's very important to find out. I always say, whether it's online, social media, people are trying to, especially for business, they're trying to solve the problem. And you're the problem solver. So you want to show yourself as the problem solver. You want to have in mind what the problem is. So once again, you myself, my problem is, there's a business owner, there's a company that's doing a poor job of using social media, digital marketing. What I can do is train you, I can teach you how to use that. So finding out what is their pain point, what is the thing they're trying to solve. And once again, you create content around that problem, because people are Googling or searching that problem. When I look for a lawyer, I have a problem. I'm getting sued. I'm going to court. I need help with a contract. I'm going there to have a problem solved. So you definitely want to define, what that problem is, and tell people how you solve that problem. So if you go to any of my accounts, you'll see me in a suit talking about digital marketing and social media. So that's very key. Finding out what is that pressure point for your customer and how you can solve that. So the next slide here, this really varies, but I want to give you kind of overview. So Facebook is typically an older audience, but that's still very broad. It really depends on what you do, but typically Facebook is an older audience. And Twitter is a younger audience. Also, you'll find business professionals on there. Instagram, definitely younger. Snapchat, definitely younger. And then LinkedIn is especially a business audience. So I'm giving you this because, one thing I see is that on social media, sometimes we get into social media overload. We try to be on every channel every day, and it's really hard to do. So, especially if you have a small team or small staff or just yourself, find the network or networks that work for you and focus on those. For me, it is LinkedIn. So the majority of my time that I spend is on LinkedIn. Why? Because it works for me. So really identify where your customer is at. So before you try to be on every platform, find out the networks where your customers at, and try to be on those networks. But even these stats on the screen here, Facebook being older, Twitter is older, those are very broad things. It all depends on your audience. So really get an understanding, I said, where your audience is at, and you want to make sure you have a strong presence on those platforms. So the next key I would say is just surveying your customers. And it's kind of old school, but we spend so much time guessing what our customers want, guessing what they want to hear and see and buy. But I believe one of the simplest things, the easiest thing is simply ask your customers what they want. And that can be done two ways. So you already have customers, offline that you've been working for over time. You can literally ask them, hey, what things would you want to see online? What things interest you? You can survey your customers and ask them what do they want to see, and then build content around that. Sometimes on Instagram or Facebook, you can even ask your people in a post, what kind of content do you want to see? And then create content around that. So once again, surveying your customers is so key, because as a business owner, sometimes we get on blinders. We can only see what we want to see, but simply just asking your customers what they want to see, I think is so key. I think one more key with that too is looking at your competition. So I'm not into copying your competitor, but I would say you want to find the market leader in your field and go to their profiles, go to their website, see what they're doing and talking about. If they have a large following, if they have a lot of engagement, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, then you know what? That's probably a network that you want to be on. And they're probably doing something that their customers like. So once again, I'm not saying copy them, but visit your competitors, visit that number one, company in industry, and look at what they're doing and get some ideas of, hey, this type of content works or this kind of thing works, and then build that into your social media. So once again, don't spend so much time guessing. Asking your customers and also surveying your competition will give you so much insight into what your customers want to hear and see from you. So let's pause real quick. I've been talking a lot here. um, I think it's a key question because we get on social media a lot for different reasons, but I want you to type in chat box. What is your social media goal or goals? So, what is your goal for being on social media? Type that in, and then we'll talk about some of the responses. What are your goals for being on social media? And while you're talking, I'll just say that it's so important to have those goals, because if we don't have goals, then we're just posting. Um, For what? Of course, we all want business, all new customers, but defining more. Like, what is the goal? What are you on social media for? Are you trying to increase sales by 10%? Are you trying to increase website traffic? What is the real goal for your business to be on social media? So type that in the chat box, and when you're done, we'll talk about some comments. Okay. Got one here. It says create relationships. Yeah, that's a great reason. And I'll say this again. I'll say it again later. It's not always about being pushy. It's about creating that relationship. And they might even reach you through social media. They may call you one day. They may go to your website. They may come to your store if you have one. So it's about just starting that conversation, that bond. So I agree. Creating that initial relationship is very important. Another comment here, it says grow audience, convert audience to customers, foster engagement around topics on which our brand is focused. I like that. Very, very to the point. I see you spent some time thinking about that. Yeah, those are all good goals to have. I would say with any goal too, if you can add a percentage or a number to it. So That way you can measure a little more. So let's say we wanted to convert more customers by 5%. Great. So figure out what 5% is to you. Maybe that's converting 2 or 3 customers per month. And then track that and see how you grow. And then eventually you increase that goal. So now instead of having 5% new customers, you only have 10 or 20%. So I think it's good to have goals, but you want to attach a milestone to a goal, because if not, it'll just always go on. I mean, of course, we all want to create more customer business, but touch a goal to that. So let's say in the next 2 months, I want to increase engagement by 10%. That's something that you can track. That's something that you can focus on, and it may be a little easier to see your progress. So, but still, that was a great comment. One more here. It says to share all parts of my lifestyle, leading to genuine connections and eventually partner with clients. I think on goals. Yeah, that's good. And I would say depending on what you do, sharing your lifestyle can really work for you. So myself, I teach, I speak, so I'm sharing my lifestyle. It's more around speaking. You'll see me doing things around speaking, but sharing that. And like I said, it always doesn't have to be amazing. But this showing your everyday life, showing what goes into your job is so important, because everybody wants to hide behind the scenes. So if I could, I would show you the whole setup here. You see the lights and the camera, everything, but it's a whole production here that you don't see. But people want sometimes what you turn that camera around and they want to see what's going on. Not necessarily what you have for lunch, but they want to see what you're traveling. They want to see you speaking. They want to see the things. So yeah, sharing your lifestyle is very important. And I'll say too, sharing your personal lifestyle and your story is easy. You don't have to sit there and think about what content to create, what pictures you have to make. No, you're just sharing what you're doing naturally. So yeah, sharing that firsthand user content is very beneficial and very engaging right now. So thank you again for all those comments. Let's move on. So I said this earlier, I'll say it again. Social media is not bombarding strangers with unsolicited tags or DMs. So that's something you don't want to do. And that's something people do on social media when they're trying to make a sale today. So have you ever been on Facebook or LinkedIn and somebody just puts 50 tags of random people on the post? That stuff doesn't work. That stuff turns people off. So if you're posting me in something and I don't know who you are, we have no relationship, that's not going to make me call you for business. That's going to make me unfollow you. That's going to make me block or delete you. So, posting randomly, having random tagging people in your profiles doesn't work. The next thing, sending those random DMs to people doesn't work either. Once again, if I don't know you, I'm not going to respond to your message. So once again, this is being authentic, telling your story, presenting what you do, who you are. That's really the way to grow. You don't want to become a spammer. We all get those robocalls. I got my phone here, and I swear probably about 80% of the calls I get every day are robot calls or spam calls trying to sell me car insurance or health insurance or trying to steal my identity. So don't be that person, that spams and bombards your customer, because people will block you out and you don't want that. And think about in our everyday lives, outside of business, every day we're bombarded by so many commercials already, whether that's Geico, whether it's McDonald's, Nike, the NBA, on and on and on. The last thing people want to see is another ad. The last thing people want to see is have another brand screaming at them, telling them to buy the service. So don't be that person. Share your story, share what's going on. And if you tag somebody with a purpose, DM somebody with a purpose that that you're talking to. Just don't out the blue, start doing that stuff. Okay, so I got a quote here I'd like to share. And originally, this quote, I heard it from a pastor years ago. And he said, sorry, I'm kind of dry here. It said, "He who does not toot his own horn will not be tooted." So that quote is from Damon Runyon, but I heard it from a pastor once, and I thought it was funny. And I updated some. he who does not tweet will not be tweeted. So we're kind of in that age where, I know you don't want to seem cheesy, you don't want to seem like you're boasting what you do, but once again, social media is that place where you have to be active. You have to establish that presence because one, it's free. One, there are literally billions, millions of your customers on these websites. So you have to be there. You have to be active on the right networks, and you have to be responding to comments and sharing posts. Why? Because people are there, and you have to kind of sometimes start the flame on your own business. If you're not excited about it, if you're not engaged about it, if you're posting boring videos and things like that, you're not posting enough, people aren't going to care. Now, if you post once every 6 months, nobody's going to follow your site. Why should I? If you post once every 6 months, and when you do post, you're posting a sale, a Labor Day sale, a Black Friday sale. I love that. People will go during all year, and somehow on Black Friday, buy my computer. I haven't heard from you all year. Why would I buy you? So be present, and you want to show up. You don't want to wait until you need that sale. The thing about social media is you want to show up early and often. So when you need that referral, that piece of business, it's there. So once again, don't be afraid to toot your own horn and tell people what you do. It's not bragging. If you write, if you sing, and you're good at it, fine. Share it and tell people. I have a few comments here. Let's see. One person says, "Amen. Thank you. Appreciate that." Other person says, "We need to be gathering ourselves up. Hyping starts with you." Yeah, I agree. Like you have to be your own hype man, especially in this social media digital age. If you don't put yourself out there, if you're not excited about what you do, nobody will care. And I'll say for myself, I've been doing digital marketing for years, but the moment I took my personal brand seriously, I started wearing suits and I had good lighting and I showed myself speaking in front of audiences and crowds. Things got better. Why? Because I'm excited about it because I was putting it out there. So don't be afraid to share, what you do. And I'm not saying you post with stacks of money or you post in front of your new bins. You can do it if you want to, but sharing what you do, you have to be your own hype man. You can't wait for people to start the buzz about you. It has to start with you. So yeah, I agree with that comment. Um, for years I dealt with that, but don't be afraid to gash yourself up. To promote what you do because that's business, that's marketing. If people don't know what you do, don't know about you, you're not gonna make sales. And something I always say, and if people don't know about you, they can't do business with you. The marketplace now, whether it's offline, online, social media, is bombarded. There are tens of thousands, I think 30,000 times per day, we're being bombarded with some company. Buy this, buy that, buy that. The only way the business you can stand out is to be active on social media, to be active in digital marketing. You have to get your message out there because right now, in the digital age, it's all about visibility. I don't care how good you are at what you do. If people can't see you, can't find you, if you're on digital and social, it doesn't matter. So yeah, you definitely want to be your own hype man and you want to show what you're good at. So great comments. So I have about 20 minutes to go. If you are finding this information helpful, I want you to hit the like button or in the hashtag, in the comment box, just give me a thumbs up. It's a great job. Because I want to hear from you. So if this is helping you or not, let me know. If so, hit the like button. Likes always help. If you want to, type in hashtag like. But I want some feedback. I want to know how I'm doing. So let me know quickly. Got to move on how I'm doing so far. Oof, I'm nervous. No comments yet. Anybody want to comment? Has this information been helpful to you? If so, just type in the chat box. A thumbs up. We got one. Thank you. I like that too. You got the black thumbs up. I like that. Not the yellow one. So thank you for that. I'm glad you all are finding this information helpful. And like I said, today and all this month, every Tuesday on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, we'll be talking more about social media, LinkedIn and Instagram, all that stuff. We'll dive deeper into the platform. So um, keep on tuning in. Thank you, Joy. And she says, so far, great. Thank you. All right, let's get back to the presentation. Got about 20 minutes ago. So, moving on to our next section, which is posts, hashtags, live stories, ads, and more. So, this section, what I'm trying to do is cover all the parts of social media. So, wherever you're on, if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever, these are some elements that you can do across any platform. So today I'm going to talk about some of those things. And these are all ways you can use a platform. You know, when social media started off, all you had was the one thing you had a post. But now we have posts, we have hashtags, we have live, we have stories, we have ads, all these things. So we're going to talk about, you know, some of those different ways you can be active on your social media accounts. So the first one we're all familiar with. This is make this bigger. Hold on one second. This is Instagram. I get on LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever, and somebody has a mile. I mean, they have a whole page of text. Most times, nobody's reading that. So you want to be to the point. You don't want to talk forever. You know, you want to add in a hashtag if you have one for your business. We'll talk more about that later. But if you have a hashtag, you know, put one in that talks about what you do. So if you sell shoes, don't put hashtag hashtag food. You know, put something that's in line with what you do. Um, but definitely on the hashtags, you want to have those profile filled out well. You want to encourage likes and comments as well. We'll talk about it more later, but you want to make sure you respond to comments. You'd be surprised how many people, even big companies, that get hundreds of comments and don't respond. Like the comments is where the magic happens. So you can start that conversation, but be sure to respond to those comments. And let's say you get 100 comments. Fine. You don't respond to all of those, but the first 10 or 20 comments, be sure to respond to those. And what I'll give you too is a little tip here. So when you first make a post on any network, the network is kind of testing your post to see how well it's liked. So I'm gonna go too deep, but that gets into social media algorithms. So in that first like 20, 30 minutes, if somebody likes your post or make a comment, reply right away because that's showing the network that hey, people are liking this comment, liking this posted video. Let's show this to more people. So to kind of get through that gate, make sure you have that early engagement. So if you post something, stick around for a few minutes and see if somebody is um, responding or leaving a comment. Also, once again, sometimes start the conversation. Don't wait for that. So if I make a post like tonight, the webinar started, the countdown started 5 minutes early. I saw we had about 3 or 4 people already signed in. I didn't wait for the webinar to start. I said, hello, how you doing? Start the conversation and people reply to it. So somebody responds, you can see who liked the post. Say, hey, tag that person. Thank you, Sterling, for your comment and reply to it. But having that early engagement is so key to have. See the comments. See when you couldn't hear me. Okay, well, I'm back on now. So I didn't believe you missed anything. So I'm back now. All right, let's go to our next slide. So hashtag the next slide. So um, we all know what hashtagging is, but I'll define it very quickly. So a hashtag is a single word or a combination of words used to create a conversation around a theme or a topic. And I give that definition because I think people have lost sight of what hashtags are used for. So putting in random hashtags in your posts is not going to get you more likes or views on your profile, on your post. That was kind of an old social media thing now. But once again, networks have kind of realized that people are doing that to kind of get more likes and views. So now you will get almost penalized if you put too many hashtags in your posts, or once again, if you're posting hashtags have nothing to do with what you're talking about. So once again, if I'm talking about digital marketing and I'm posting hashtags about cars and vacations, that's going to hurt me. So if you're using hashtags, make sure you use a few. I think on Instagram, the max is like 15. But normally I try to do like 3 or 4, but have hashtags that have to do with the topic that you're talking about. So if you have a hashtag for your company, use that. If you're talking about food, hashtag food. You're talking about flowers, hashtag flowers, something like that. But make sure that you're not spamming. You're not putting in random hashtags in your post, because that's not the way to really get more users. And then too, hashtags are a way to categorize information. So if I'm going through my feed and I click on hashtag food and I come to your profile and you're talking about basketball, well, I'm going to leave because I didn't come to see basketball. I came for food. So posting hashtags that have to do with your business, it really doesn't work, because I came to your profile looking for something. If I don't see that, I'm going to leave. So be sure to post hashtags that have something to do with your business. The next thing is live. So we have Oprah here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's Oprah cooking a dish for somebody. But lives are a great way to connect with your audience. This webinar is live. This is not recorded. I'm talking to you right now, and it's in live. It's engaging, and that's what a live is. So a live is kind of a short, not a short. I'm sorry. A live is live. You're taking your phone, you're taking your camera, you're talking to your people. And the great thing about it is it's engaging. It's an immediate response. So if somebody is following you on your live, they can respond to you immediately. And I know several people that make a lot of sales through lives, because in a sense, you don't want to sell too much, but you're talking about your product, your service, people are asking about it in the comments, you can reply right away. So this is something that, couldn't be done before. If you were on TV, people couldn't see what you were saying, but like this webinar, if I'm talking about something, you have a question, you can answer it in this real time. So live is great. And I love live too, because it's unscripted. And like this webinar, I don't spend too much time on my slides. I create my slides. I make sure there are no spelling errors. But this is not scripted. I'm going off the top of my head. Why? Because I know what I'm talking about and I'm responding to your questions. So the great thing about live is there's very little planning. Of course, think about what you want to talk about. Make sure that you have good lighting, that you're not too dark. Make sure people can hear you, but it's all live. So it's very easy to create live content. And that's why I love live content. And I'm finding now people are responding more to live content, because people are tired of commercials. They're tired of pitches. They like that live content. They like that behind the scene way. So just live content is an easy way to create content and to be more engaging. Next thing we'll talk about is stories. So stories are, again, a quick way to kind of talk to your customer. There's stories on LinkedIn, on Twitter, Instagram. Everybody has stories now, but stories are kind of another way you can talk to your customer. So if you're not using stories, use stories. It can be posting an image. It can be an image with a message on it. It could be follow me. It could be talking about something. It's another way to engage your people. So you want to make sure that you're using stories. Because once again, it's an easy, quick way to share something. And what I do as well is make sure that you are sharing your post in different ways. So when I post a story, I take that same story and I post it in my, I'm sorry, when I post a regular post, I take that same post and I put in my stories, a snapshot of that post, and I say to see more, visit my page. So you can use hashtag stories, live posts to kind of cross promote each other because they're the same product, but they're a little different. So you want to find ways to create those stories. Also, if you're doing video stories are quick knowing. I think you got about 15 seconds to talk. So sharing stories, once again, a great way and a quick way to really engage your customer and have them learn more about your product or your service. Moving on. We'll talk about this quickly. Don't have too much time today. We'll talk about it more next class about Facebook and about LinkedIn. I'll get more into that. But one thing I'll say about social media is not free. It still is free, but I feel that, how can I say this? For years, social media was free and it worked. And it was kind of a tester. So, but now LinkedIn, Facebook, they know social media works. So if you really want to get a boost social media, you need to pay. You need to run ads. And one thing that I recommend if you have the money is boosting your ads on LinkedIn, boosting it on Instagram or on Facebook. Um, I can't get too much to it now because we don't have too much time, but social media advertising is low cost. For as little as $5 per day or less, you can reach hundreds of customers and have them come back to your business. So I have a link here. Let me share that in the chat quickly. And if you want to learn more about social media advertising, you can feel free to visit this link on your own time, and you can learn more about social media advertising. So hold on one second. Put it here in the chat now. And social media advertising is easy and is low cost too. If you think about, you could run an ad for $5-10 a day and reach thousands of potential customers. There's no place you can do that. Not TV, not radio, not print. So social media advertising, if you have the budget, is something you want to do. And you can start off as little as $5 per day. You can promote a post. You can boost a post. It's a great way to get more eyeballs looking at your content. All right, so that went quick. We're at the end now, so we have about 7 minutes left. I said a lot about social media. I hope that you find it helpful. But what questions do you have for me? If you have any more questions, just feel free to type those in the chat box. We have about 6 minutes left, so I'll answer any questions. So, what other questions do you have about social media? Any questions about hashtags, about live, about doing stories? Any questions about LinkedIn, Facebook? Now's the time to answer those. I want to be sure I answer those. Audio is going down. That's strange. Can you hear me now? That's odd. My audio's on. I'm not sure why you can't hear me. If you can hear me, just type yes in the chat box. But from my end, the audio is fine. Any questions about my social media? Great. Any questions, Joy, about social media? Now's the time to ask those. Open floor, social media. I'll answer any questions you have. I guess one question too is, what challenges are you having on social media? Because one thing that I find, again, and I said this earlier, is that we spend so much time on social media sometimes targeting the wrong people. What challenges are you having on social media? If any challenges you're having, just feel free to type those in the chat box, and I'll do my best to answer your question. All right. Well, I'll move on with the recap. Um, okay, got a question here. It says, "How important are reels versus still images?" Yeah, I forgot to cover reels, but reels are very important now, especially on Instagram, because every time that a network like Instagram has a new feature, excuse me, they're going to show up to more people. So for a while, stories were the cool thing to do. So stories got a lot of views. So now reels are getting a lot of views. So once again, you want to do that experimenting with reels or stories again. Once again, because Instagram now, the newest features are getting the most eyeballs. So reels are important. Once again, they're easy to create. They're kind of that quick snapshot of you doing something. So I would definitely experiment with using reels because they can be a way once again to get more eyeballs on your business. Um, question here: posting appropriate content. Not sure what your question is, but yeah, you want to post content that's in line with your customers. That's the best thing to post. Question here, it says, staying creative and coming up with ideas. Yeah, that's a great question. I said earlier, looking at your competition is very key. You can get so many ideas from them. So look at some of the market leaders in your field and see what they're posting and see what they're talking about. And I'll say also, if you can, write down the week before or the month before what you're going to talk about. So I find it's easier if you have a theme for the week or a theme for the month. So this webinar, the theme for the month is social media. So naturally, I know all month I'm talking about all aspects of social media. So if you can create a theme, that's really easy to create content around a theme. Also, like I said, look at your competition, see what they're talking about, and if people are responding to that, probably your customers are very similar and want to hear that same kind of content. So, great question. One more question here. It says, I'm the founder of a civic engagement social enterprise. How do I connect with non or intermittent voters? Most of those are engaging in the political process. Yeah, good question. That's a little harder because it's not strictly sales. But I would say look into to Facebook. One thing we'll talk about next week is Facebook groups. Facebook groups are a good thing to start. You can even do a search in Facebook for other groups, and you can kind of find some of those people that may fit your criteria and ask them to join or follow your page. So, starting groups is a great way to do that because you can find out more about their behavior. So, groups, I would say are key. I would say the next thing is maybe email marketing. That's a little different, but just finding ways to engage those people. But I think the one thing again is like if you are creating content that people want, they're going to find you eventually. So keep creating that content that is around what those voters are looking for. And I think that naturally that they'll find you. And once again, you can look at similar organizations and get some ideas of what they're posting, and that may help you as well. Question here says challenge planning content in bulk and scheduling. Yeah, that can be a big challenge. It can be tough. So, like I said before, if you can plan content in advance, a month, a week in advance, that's gonna make it easier to make content. I said before, doing video content is a lot easier. Doing lives is easier. Behind the scenes is easier kind of content to create. So you want to find ways to spend less time on content. So I would say try that. Um, the next thing I would say is use a tool. There are social media tools out there. One tool that I use is called Hootsuite. It's free. Then it's like $10 a month. One is called I think TweetDeck. So do a search for social media content posting, content planning, and you'll see a list of companies where you can schedule posts in advance. Because yes, it is very hard to stay on top of it. So if you can try to use the software, that's going to aid you in posting in advance. And some of the software are free or even low cost. But yeah, if you have the time, just brainstorm what topics am I going to talk about, and talk about that. And one more thing I'll say, and I'll in the webinar, because we're at about an hour now, is when you create content, create long form content. So if you create a blog post or a video, find ways to share that content in different ways. So you're not creating stuff for one time. Like this webinar is an hour long. I said a lot of things in here. I can go through this webinar. I can take out so many pieces of content, whether that's audio, make that into a text version. I could take a video clip and share that as well. So when you're creating content, find ways to repurpose and reuse that content. So great questions. And let's get ready to wrap up the webinar because we're at our time limit now. So recap, like I said, social media is about sharing. It's about sharing your story, and it's a great way to build your brand, increase sales, and drive traffic to your website. And once again, the primary thing is sharing your story is key. It always doesn't have to be exciting or funny. There's so many trends on social media. People are dancing and singing and doing whatever. I don't dance or sing. I'm just me. I'm talking about what I do. So, don't chase trends. Don't chase fads. If you can't sing or dance, don't try to dance. But just tell people what you do. And once again, I believe if you're good at what you do, if you're showing what you do, if you're being engaging and personal, people eventually are going to like that content and come back to you again and again. But once again, it's about sharing your story. It's about being authentic, personal, and knowing your audience. So any questions about anything I said, once again, you can send those questions to programs@usblackchambers.org. I'm here to address again. Any questions, you feel free to email those to us. Also, if you enjoyed this webinar, you can visit usblackchambers.org/webinars for lists of other upcoming trainings. Also, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, this has been recorded. So if you want to play this back again and kind of learn more, visit those platforms that you can replay any part of this webinar. So thank you for your time. I ran a little bit over tonight. Thank you for staying again. But once again, we'll be back on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And we're talking about Facebook business, how to use Facebook to drive more business to your business. So we'll talk about that. So thanks again. Thanks for joining me. See you again on Thursday, and good night.